3 years ago, I bought a Beetle, not even thinking. That's not the joke, shut up.
Ugly? Sure. Funny looking? Definitely. Cool? To many, yes. Designed by Ferdinand Porsche, developed for Adolf Hitler, the VW Bug should have died with the defeat of Germany. Instead, it has gone on to become the universal people's car. From hippies to racers, from campers to bugs. What makes the classic VW so loved? The people.
A Volkswagen is never changed to make it look different, only to make it work better.
This car was bought in 2003. It didn't look a lot like this car. It was just a beater car that somebody used for a daily driver. And when my kids were old enough, my wife told me I could find a Volkswagen of my own, and I bought this car, and it became mine. We heard about the movie coming out, and that's where we got the idea that we should decorate it like Herbie and make it a Herbie car. So the hood opens and closes, the horn beeps by itself, remote. We have the windshield washer, spritzes kids. Headlights flash, the turn signals flash. Yeah, that's just the beginning of what we hope to do a lot more with it year after year after year. We started to realize how popular the car was. So we started doing community events. We would visit kids that were sick and things like that. And now it's grown to a point where we have a website, and there are Herbie owners across the country. And we put a group together called Operation Herbie. So what we do now is when there's a child in need, or there's a fundraising event that someone wants a car to come to, we donate our own cars, and we travel all over the United States to do this. So it's really worked out well. It's nice that you can put a little effort into a car and make it go a long way.
There's a particular appeal about a Volkswagen for me in that it has a very retro look. It reminds me a little of a 1940 Ford, only smaller. The engineering is simple, and the parts are very inexpensive, and they're still all available. I had seen electric Volkswagen. I had no idea how they did them, but I had seen them. Right. And I thought, if I could, I'm not an electrician, my degree is not in engineering, but if I could learn about direct current, DC electricity, I think I have enough automotive knowledge to possibly install a system. This is obviously the trunk of a Beetle, and of course there was never an engine up here. The engine is in the back, so there was lots of room in here to install 6 8-volt batteries, and these 6 are part of a string of 15 for the 120-volt system. Also in here is the 120-volt charger. These are 8 additional 8-volt batteries behind the front seats, and they're part of the 15 battery string, which equals 120 volts. Right behind that is the final battery box, and that has the last battery in the string for 120 volts. It also has a 12-volt battery, which runs the accessories on the car, the turn signals, brake lights, headlights. And that 12-volt battery is fed through a converter from the 120-volt system. These are the only 2 additional gauges added to any automobile you convert to electric. The gauge on the right is the voltmeter. It's kind of like your gas gauge. And the gauge on the left is the amp meter. It's kind of like your tachometer. Okay, I've brought you back to what used to be called the engine compartment and is now obviously the motor compartment. And I refer to it as where the beast lives, because this thing bit me twice while I was creating it. It's 120 volts, and it will give you quite a shock. What we have here is a DC wound motor. These motors are designed specifically for electric vehicles. They're 120 volts, about 50 horsepower, capable of pushing the car to 70 miles an hour. And what we have up here is the rest of the related components. This is a motor controller, a couple of cooling fans to keep the controller cool, and some of the other associated equipment. I don't want to get too technical, but suffice it to say, it was a steep learning curve. I used the internet, the computer, almost exclusively to learn about DC motors, controllers, batteries, different combinations, and I was surprised to find that there were a number of websites and clubs of owners of electric vehicles, and many of them had done Volkswagen vehicles. So I had a starting point. And once I felt confident I could install the system, I ordered all the parts and pieces and began the conversion. You would think you would lose a lot of power being an electric. It has the acceleration of a stock Beetle of the same year, 1977. And I've driven a lot of them. Another thing to consider is this. Every American family has 2 or more vehicles. What if one of those vehicles was a short-range car, just for trips to the store, back and forth to school, or maybe you have a really reasonable commute like my wife? Would we still have the dependency on foreign oil that we have today? And wouldn't we have a cleaner environment? The car has a 40-mile range on a charge. Takes about 8 hours to charge it up overnight. And the cost using night rates, about $1.25.
Ever wish you could sail through mud or snow? Ever wish your car didn't guzzle so much gas? The Volkswagen has no radiator problems. In fact, no radiator. The Volkswagen engine is cooled by air. Can't freeze in winter or boil over in summer. The Volkswagen engine's in the rear. You go in mud or snow. The Volkswagen cuts most gas bills in half. Ever wish you owned a Volkswagen?